Hi everyone, it's Alex, and today I'm doing the Booktube Newbie 2.0 tag. I feel like I haven't done a tag video in a while, and I feel like with this one, since now I started Booktube last fall, I feel like it's appropriate now with September being a fall month. It feels kind of full circle, but I certainly still feel new on Booktube just because it hasn't been quite a year just yet. But these questions here on this tag, I really liked them because I feel like I could think of by now at least maybe some things to say about what it's like to be on BookTube for the time I have been here. And of those questions, it looks like the first question is maybe asking what are some genres I feel like I could see more of on BookTube. And I feel like, of course, I don't know the entire realm of BookTube and what everyone's reading or what videos people are making, but at least for my subscription feed, I feel like maybe if I were to say anything, it might be maybe more nonfiction picks, just because I feel like what I see is dominated by fiction, and I feel like certainly there are the nonfiction recommendations, and I feel like with Nonfiction November right around the corner, I'll see more of them, but I just feel like that's a good bet to say right now that I can think of. The second question asks, maybe what's a best way to make friends on BookTube? And I would highly recommend starting out, if you're not familiar probably with the just plain BookTube Newbie Tag. That's what I started with, and I know what I did is that I looked in the search bar and looked up other newbie tags that people were doing, and I was looking at ones that had been posted around the same time as mine was, and I was also looking for people that I felt had same interests as me. So, for example, one that comes to mind is Jasmine from Jasmine's Reads, and Jasmine and I became friends right when I was starting BookTube, and ever since I've really loved her recommendations and her videos, and so I feel like that's a good way to start. And I would also recommend, you know, BookTube isn't just the sole place where you feel like you have to make friends. You could also find people on maybe Instagram with the Bookstagram community, because I feel like there might be people doing both. There might be someone on Instagram posting bookish content and then also doing YouTube videos, so I feel like there's a good bridge there. And other places, of course, like Goodreads, I feel like a lot of it is really finding your time to try equally making videos, but also taking that time to search for people that you're genuinely interested in or want to watch more of. The third question asks, what do I enjoy most about making videos? And I would say I really love when I get the chance, or I feel excited with the idea of making a video where I get to dissect themes in books that I think are really interesting. For example, one I haven't talked about yet, but maybe a video I might be doing soon, is it seems like recently I'm reading a lot of books that were written shortly after 9/11 happening, and I'm really fixated now on this idea of what certain books, like maybe what I read last month, Someday This Pain Will Be Useful to You by Peter Cameron. I feel like a part of that book that I didn't explain in my wrap-up, but I'm still interested in, is the idea of sort of post 9/11 adolescence. So with that book, and then also thinking of movies even, or stories other than books, like in Lady Bird, I feel like a part of Lady Bird also was with Lady Bird's idea of her identity being sort of important to her because of things like 9/11 happening, and how more than ever to her maybe that identity was such a strong attachment for her to make up this persona of Lady Bird. And so going along with me thinking of ideas for videos like that, I also really enjoy scripting my videos actually. I actually feel much more comfortable sort of hitting all the points I think of, because I really don't like to forget whenever I mean to talk about something in my videos. And this is a good segue into question 4, and it's asking what is my least favorite thing about making videos? And a part of it is, like I said, forgetting things that I mean to say, and sometimes my least favorite part can even also be scripting, just because I feel like whenever I'm making a script, sometimes I realize that I don't have a lot to say, and I wish I did. But I know for a lot of people watching BookTube, you know, they just really love to watch for the person. So whether or not it be my bookish content, maybe you also all like to watch me because you enjoy my personality, hopefully. But yeah. Question 5 asks, what are other videos besides TBRs, wrap-ups, reviews, recommendations that I wish I could see more of? And I like all those things, but I feel like I like moments when I realize in the BookTube community that there is certain conversations going on. For example, when the Man Booker Prize long list was announced, a lot of people sort of took with that and talked about things like, of course, with the graphic novel being nominated this year, sort of what does that mean and what does that mean for our literary community? And other people, this is sort of a more carried conversation throughout the months, and it's sort of wondering in the first place, should we be really looking toward prizes and long lists as sort of a place for us to start reading, or can we really even, go by prizes anymore whenever we think of who's judging that year, and sort of how do our judges also influence what's on long lists and etc. So I love conversations like that. And I also love is recently another sort of ongoing videos I've been seeing is people talking about rereading. Over at Wild Reads recently, he made a video the other day about rereading, and then Steve Donahue made a response video. So I love watching all that kind of stuff. I love whenever BookTube or at least with, people I'm subscribed to that I know of, are having these conversations where we're all sort of talking to each other. And that extends also to sort of in the realm of wrap-ups. Something I would like to do, which I feel like I've also seen talked about on BookTube before, is that from now on with my wrap-ups, other than talking about the books I read, I would love to also talk about the videos I've been watching for that month and sort of my favorite ones, or not really favorite because I do enjoy content from everyone I'm subscribed to whenever I get to watch it, but sort of what videos stood out to me and how hopefully with the videos I watched, maybe those are ones that maybe either went under your radar or maybe you're not even subscribed to this person, but I just feel like it's a video that you might enjoy. So I'm really excited for my September wrap-up to sort of start including also mentioning videos I'd really like to watch from this month. So question 6 asks, what themes do I think I wish maybe might be more apparent in books? And I feel like out of all the questions here, that one's maybe the most subjective. But I mean, really, I just read a lot of the same things anyway. I love reading things about loss and grief. Those two things seem to stand out to me, especially in nonfiction. But recently, a read that I read that I've been stumped by is Will You Please Be Quiet Please by Raymond Carver. And that's a collection of short stories. And I'm still not confused, but it's unlike really any short stories I've read before. And it's funny because I'm reading a lot of short story collections this month, it seems. I think I've read 3, including Carver. In fact, just in general, it's September 8th now. I'm filming this on Saturday. And I've already read 6 books, so that's nearly 6 works, or that's, yeah, for 8 days in the month. So I'm really on a roll. But yeah, with Carver, I'm stumped by him. I kind of got on a tangent there. But with themes, I'll read anything, any type of theme. I'm just confused right now with the themes and Will You Please Be Quiet Please were, but I'm still really enticed by them. A very interesting work. I'm excited to talk more about it in my wrap-up. So yeah, that was a random recommendation. Question 7 asks, what are some BookTube goals I have? Nothing really quantitative, but I would love if I happen to be watching someone on BookTube and then I find out that they're talking about a book I've also read and I'm like, oh cool, I love getting to know what other people think of a book I've also read already. But then if it turns out they say something like, I heard about this book because of Alex, so what page are you on? And then I would, that would really be a great moment for me. I feel like for a lot of us, sometimes it feels like we can be talking to ourselves when we make our videos, but I know that's not true. But just, I think that would be really nice. I feel like if someone read something because they found out about it in my channel, not to say that I've read anything I think no one's already heard about before, but that would be a nice, little treat to myself. I would feel really good about that. Question 8 asks what advice I would give to new booktubers just starting out, and I have a few things. I think the first is don't go out and buy books immediately if you already have books, because don't feel like you have to be adding necessarily something to a conversation or to new releases in particular. If you want to, that's great. But if anything, I would advise, get a library card, go to your library and just check out books. I can't really say anything for that because I don't do that, but because I'm not part of my library membership or anything. And I know it's sort of a privileged thing to advise, because I know part of, going to a library is getting transportation, and not everyone has transportation. So beyond, trying to seek out your libraries, I would advise also, going back to what I said something earlier, try rereading books already. I feel like there's definitely a community on BookTube that would really love to just watch bookish content on people rereading stuff. I know I would watch it. I love just as much hearing someone read a book they've never read before as much as someone already rereading something. So I think that would be great. Other things, like I said earlier, really a part of BookTube just starting out, if you're really worried about people watching your content, remember it's just as much about making videos as it is about going out and searching for those people you really want to connect with. Like, go find the booktubers that inspire you or you want to make similar content as, and just really, find out why you watch videos and how you can emulate that in your own videos too. Also, of course, the last thing is, people always say be yourself, which I highly recommend, but be yourself with, maybe this is just me, wanting to be organized, but going back to scripting, like, if you feel like you have a lot of things to say in one video, it doesn't help if you try to, or it does help, or it doesn't hurt to sort of organize your ideas to where you feel like you're, presenting it in the most fluid way you can. Because I feel like people just starting out, they sort of get in these pauses, or they say things like, I don't know, or they become maybe even self-deprecating, which is fine, but, it's sort of like you can maybe cut those things. And then speaking of like cutting, with editing, don't worry about it. Just, focus on what you want to say. Why are you making the video? How do you want it to be? How do you envision it to be? And things like that. And then, of course, other things like don't worry about subscribers at all. Let it happen by happenstance or coincidence. You should be here wanting to make bookish content. That's what we're all here for. Not even really about books, but just, stories, narratives. If you want to talk about film too, that's great. Just, have fun. Be yourself. Just really make it your own and stand by it. Question 9 asks, what qualities do you look for in watching other booktubers? And so for me, I feel comfortable, or I feel good just catching up with people. So for example, sometimes with booktube videos I watch, I don't even actively watch them. I sort of listen to them. So if I'm making breakfast in the morning, I just set my phone somewhere and then turn up the volume really loud and I just listen. I love watching videos or hearing from people I subscribe to when I feel like I'm just having a nice catch up with them. Great examples of this I can think of at first, just off the top of my head, are people like Mel from Mel's Bookland Adventures. I think that's Mel's name. I can't even really think of it either off the top of my head. And also Chris from Chris Bookish Cauldron, Claire from Claire Reads Books. I love how Claire sort of, recently when I think of like when she talked about Eleanor Oliphant, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, It's Completely Fine, and then also talking about Convenience Store Woman. I love how she talked about those two books together and sort of in parallel with each other. I love how Claire talks about books. So, I don't know, just people that I feel like are talking about, are just excited. They feel engaged with what they read, and they feel engaged about how they talk about it too. Number 10 asks to talk about a fun fact about myself, and I know I talked about it in a recent video, but besides reading and writing, I was really into photography when I was younger. I have published a few things with my photography when I was younger. One of them was in a magazine called Oh Comely or Comely, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, and it was the very first issue. And then another one is I had a couple of photos in an anthology series called Rookie Mag, or just Rookie. And when I was on Flickr a long time ago, that website for photographers, when I was a teenager, we were all just teens, Tavi Gevinson was sort of also involved in that era because she was about our age as well. And when Rookie was first starting, there was an open call for submissions, and then I submitted, and then there's a post on there on the website that I'm featured in, and then I was asked to have a couple of photos in the Rookie Yearbook 2, the printed version from the website. And I always think it's funny because one of the photos in there that I have is of an article for masturbation. So You know, you can't choose these things, but I'm happy to have been involved. Rookie is great. It's a great platform for a magazine for teenagers. And lastly, this asked for me to tag other booktubers, and I looked around and I looked for booktubers I'm subscribed to that I'm friends with, and then also who started at the same time as me and who also haven't done this tag, I don't think. So the first person I'll tag, I've mentioned already, is previously is Jasmine from Jasmine's Reads. Jasmine and I started around the same time, and I don't think Jasmine's done this. Also, I'll tag Matt from MCS Books. Love Matt's channel. I love watching his content, and I don't think he's done this tag. And then also Diana from Diana in Color. I love Diana's videos. I love how I feel when I watch them. She seems like such a cool vibe. And then also Chris from Chris Bookish Cauldron. And Chris, if you're watching, I know you started like a few months before I did, but sort of in that same realm of time. And I don't think you've done this tag either. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.